What's up, everybody? How you doing? Welcome back to Horror Hangout. Thank you for joining me today. This will be a live stream. I'm ultimately gonna, more than likely, download the footage and edit it to make it a little more desirable for people that are watching it after the fact. But this is a live stream. I won't be addressing the comments too much, I don't think, because I'm trying to make this happen before 3 o'clock my time. I got to go pick up the little one. It is my daughter's birthday today, so when she gets out of school, it is time for me to hang out with her until I have to go to my other job. So anyways, thanks for hanging out. This is my personal top 10 horror movies of all time list. Now, let's keep this stuff. Let's keep it cool, man. It's my list. Your list is probably going to be very different from mine, and I expect it to be very different. What's up, Julie? How are you? I expect everybody's list to be quite different. So don't bag on mine. I won't bag on yours unless you want to do that. And if that's the case, let's go. Let's go. No, I'm just trying to not be a doucher. And I would appreciate the same respect thrown back my way. All right, I'm gonna be looking at my phone a lot because my list is in fact typed on my phone. And then over here on this side of my desk, I got another monitor pulled up so I can look up stuff and tell you about the movies. And then we can talk about each movie for a minute or two. What's up, JJ? How are you today, my friend? All right, so man, people are getting so pissy today. All right, let's see. No, top 10 on Netflix. No, sir, that ain't mine. Okay, so top 10 horror movies of all time. My top 10 horror movies of all time. My number 10 is one that I would say is probably not a super popular one, to be honest with you. Let's see here. I'm going to share the screen with you guys so you can see what I'm looking at. Yeah, so my number 10 is going to be Cabin Fever from 2002. If you're not familiar with this movie, I really enjoy this one. It's a Eli Roth. I think it's his first movie, and it's got Ryder Strong in it. It's got a couple people that you'll recognize throughout the movie, especially this folio, James DeBello. He plays this kind of guy all the time. And then this dude here, Joey Kern, he was also in a movie called Grind. That's sweet Louie Lou, baby. Anyways, look, this is a super grimy, disgusting, like grindhousey flick about people that get this disease, and it's like a flesh-eating disease where it deteriorates their flesh. And I think the reason that I rank it so high isn't necessarily because it's such a well-made film, because I don't think that's the case at all. This was one of the first really gnarly horror movies that I got to see and own at like whatever age I was. This is one of the, how do I explain this? In 2002, I was turning 20, right? So I was on my own by then. And this movie was one of the first movies that I went out and saw in the theaters, is what I'm trying to say here. I saw it in the theaters, then I bought it. Like, dude, I wasn't allowed to go see horror movies when I was a kid. Every horror movie that I saw, it was because I was going to the pawn shop at ages 15 and 16 and buying VHS tapes for 50 cents and taking them home and putting them in my player and watching them. Actually, back then, they probably weren't 50 cents. They were probably a couple bucks. But, you know, whatever. I remember I got Evil Dead like that, watched it, didn't understand it back then. A Clockwork Orange, not a horror movie, I understand, but I thought I was supposed to like it because I was a punk kid, and I didn't like that movie at all. What other movie there was another one that I watched that I didn't really understand. But A Clockwork Orange really wasn't for me. Evil Dead, Idle Hands was cool. I watched that one back then. But anyways, number 10 is Cabin Fever from 2002. I just absolutely love that movie. It's some good old body horror. I love body horror stuff. Number nine, I don't even have to look up. Number 9 is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original one. Directed by Tobe Hooper, of course. 1974. This movie, it just holds up, dude. It's still a good movie. It's still a scary movie. I love Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That whole franchise is probably one of my favorites. I like it better than I do Halloween as a franchise. I like it better than I do Friday the 13th as a franchise. But I think as far as all the old school horror movies, which one holds up the best? I do believe that Texas Chainsaw holds up better than all of them, and that includes stuff like The Exorcist and things. But I think that's really subjective. I'm not here to bag on movies that I don't like. I'm just saying, like, I think it holds up better than those. Let's see. Number 8. Number 8 is an eclectic one, man. This is a movie that Some people may not even have it in the horror genre, but I 1000% do, and I'll explain why in just 1 second. Let me pull up this movie real quick because this is one that I don't know all the details of, but it's 1985. Okay. Return to Oz is my number 8 favorite horror movie of all time. If you have seen this movie and you don't consider this a horror movie, then man, I don't even know. This movie scared the bejesus out of me. It's got Fairuza Balk in it. This young lady right here, she is one of the girls from The Craft. If you recognize her face, this is her as a little kid, 1985. But this movie was one. It's much more true to the books and the stories that we read about Oz. Oz is a dark fantasy story. It's not about, dude, The Wizard of Oz, while a wonderful movie and it's cool Technicolor stuff, I understand why Wizard of Oz is an important movie, just not one that I care about very much. The Return to Oz, however, my dad, when I was a little kid, I might have been like 6 or 7 years old when I watched this. 88, 89, something like that. After it came out on VHS, and my dad, he had me for the weekend with my sister, and I'll never forget this because he had bought me The Wizard of Oz in a book, and I was too little to really understand it. I was reading a little bit, but he wasn't the type of guy that would read to me, right? So I remember he went and found The Return to Oz on VHS and was like, "Oh, you'll like this. This is part of the book that you were going to read." And I was like, kid, so I was like, "All right, cool." And I mean, I might have been in first or second grade, dude. I was little. And spoiler alert, there's a part in the movie where this queen lady goes into this hallway and she's got all these heads and she pulls off her head and puts another head on it. It's a super angry witch lady and she wants to take Fairuza Balk and get her head, and she traps her in this tower in a castle and she's going to take her head from her. You telling me that's not a horror movie? Bro, come on, dude. Hell yeah, it's a horror movie. Return to Oz is number 8. Number 7, my 7th favorite horror movie of all time is the original Saw. I almost said Eli Roth again. James Wan. I think Return to Oz is more of a horror movie than Saw. Saw is more like a mystery, but it's Saw. It's a horror movie, man. But it's got one of the best twists of all time, and Saw really affected me, man. I liked that movie. It didn't scare me, but it was so. I still, to this day, can sit down and watch Saw and enjoy the movie. Even though I know everything's going to happen in it, I still can enjoy it. It was so well crafted. And they started a whole new genre of the torture stuff. And I hate that I can't even say that word. It's so dumb. But anyways, you know what subgenre they created with Saw. And James Wan started a whole new I feel like Saw did for horror in, what was it, like 2004, that Scream did for it a decade back. I think that's what it did. It reinvigorated the horror genre, and it gave us a new subgenre, brought us The Hills Have Eyes, Hostel. None of that stuff would exist without Saw. So, I really just love that movie quite a bit. It's got one of the best endings of all time, in my opinion. I should have written numbers down next to these. I'm sorry. So that was 10, 9, 8, 7. Number 6. Number 6 is a perfect movie to me. It is an absolutely, positively perfect movie. Sorry. Yeah, I'm going to have to edit some of this, huh? All right. My number 6 favorite horror movie of all time is 1986, The Fly. Man, this movie is so good. It's a perfect movie. It's a 10 out of 10, man. Come on, Brundlefly. Cronenberg, that's my favorite Cronenberg movie by a fair margin, I'd say. I like some Cronenberg stuff. I'm not as high on him as some of my buddies are, but I really enjoy his movies, especially when I get to learn about them. And the more I watch them, the more I like them. But The Fly is one that the moment I watched it, and it's short too. It's an hour and a half long. Jeff Goldblum, Gina Davis. Come on, man. What a great duo that is. The Fly was disgusting when I watched it. It was nasty, and it was. If you can't tell, there's a theme here. I like body horror stuff, and I like slasher stuff. Gory practical effects are right up my alley. That's the stuff that I truly enjoy. And this is probably the top 3 practical effects movies of all time. The story is I love a love story. I'm a hopeless romantic. Got it tattooed on my hands. This movie is perfect. If you haven't seen The Fly, go check it out. I haven't watched The Fly 2 yet. I've got it. I'm not sure I want to watch it right now. I kind of want to, but it's kind of scary. Okay. Number 5. Ooh, we're getting into the top 5. Number 5 is a movie that I didn't even used to like. I used to not understand it. I didn't get it, but I have Josh to thank for this. So that's my guy, Josh. If you're seeing this, buddy, thank you for putting up with me. John Carpenter, 1982, The Thing. I just got to see it in the theaters for the first time about a month ago. I wrestled with the position of some of these movies, and The Thing was one of those. I wanted to put it a little higher. I also wanted to put it a little lower. I love all these movies so much. All 10 of these movies are so wonderful to me. But The Thing is, again, another perfect movie in my opinion. This is the best John Carpenter movie. Not my favorite, but I think it's the best. My favorite's probably They Live. I can't. That movie is awesome, but it's not. And I don't consider that a horror movie. Maybe it is. I don't know. Whatever. Anyways, again, The Thing has great practical effects, some good body horror, and an excellent ending. All these movies, I think, have excellent endings. Yeah, there's not a whole lot to talk about with The Thing. We all know and love that movie. At least I would assume so. If you don't like The Thing, let me know why in the comments. I think it's a little slow, I guess. I can understand if you think it's slow. I don't think it's boring, but it is slowly paced. That might be for somebody's reason to not like it. The ending is a little bleak, I guess. But, I mean, dude, it's such a great movie. And it's Kurt Russell's best role, period, I think. Number 4. This is probably going to ruffle some feathers. I don't mean it to, but it just is what it is. I believe it's 2013, but it's the Evil Dead remake. I put this above the other 2 Evil Dead movies and Army of Darkness, not because I love Evil Dead. Okay, those 2 movies are awesome, but they're not as good a movie as the remake is. Especially, it's whatever, man. It's very subjective. You may think they are. I think if you're speaking objectively, this is a better made movie. But I can understand why somebody would like the original 2 movies better. I'm not here to tell you that you're wrong because I don't think there's any room for wrong. I think everybody has their own preference. But, man, it's just this – it's terrifying. It's so scary, man. It's gory. It's bloody. It's exactly what Evil Dead would be today if they made it today. That's exactly what it is. It's perfect. They remade that movie by today's standards, and they nailed it. And – it's terrifying. I believe somebody was telling me it's the most blood ever used in a movie. What? Like fake blood? Good grief! It's mostly practical effects that I can tell. They blend. If there's a lot of CG stuff, it's blended really well together. But the acting was good. The story was well crafted. It didn't veer too far off of the original movie. It just didn't have the camp in it, which had it had Bruce Campbell, I would have expected and wanted the camp. But it didn't. And I like the fact that they didn't just try to recreate that because they would have messed that up completely. But, yeah, that's my number 4 on my top 10 horror movies is the Evil Dead remake from 2013. This is the Mamma Jammas. This is the big Mamma Jammas right here. This is the we are fixing to get into the nitty gritty. So my top 3 horror movies of all time coming right up. All right, number 3 is from 2016. Same people that made Manborg and Psycho Goreman also made a movie. It's Lovecraftian. It's called The Void. This movie is what this speaks to me. This is what I want out of a Lovecraftian horror movie, and I'm a big fan of Lovecraftian stuff. As I'm finding out, like I'm learning a lot about what I really like. I like low budget, just garbage. I like slashers, body horror, and Lovecraftian horror. That's the stuff that I like the most. And if you can combine that stuff into making one movie, cool. But, there are movies that are becoming, there's this elevated horror thing. I'm starting to try to like that stuff a little bit more. I've become a fan of The Witch recently. I like that movie a little bit more than I used to. But this movie, when it came out, I watched it one time and I knew I loved it. I didn't know how much, but I was like, yo, yes. And I have since watched it probably 5 or 6 different times. It's got a very bleak, weird, strange ending. I don't want to really tell anybody exactly what happens, but it's a new enough movie that I think most fans of horror, especially modern horror, could really get behind it. It's not perfect, but that's not really what I'm looking for in a good horror movie. I'm not really looking for perfection because it's so hard to get perfection out of a horror movie. I just so happen to have a couple that I think are 10s on here, The Thing and The Fly specifically. Let's see. Yeah, The Thing and The Fly are the only two that I would say are 10 out of 10 on my list. So perfection isn't really necessarily something I'm looking for, but I don't know. The Void is about, let me just tell you what The Void's about. I'll read you the synopsis real quick. It's not a very complicated story. Let's see. The plot follows a small group of people who become trapped in a hospital by a gathering of hooded cultists and by grotesque creatures. Yeah, very simple. Man, I thought I was going to give you a little bit more information than that. I didn't want to like mess it up, so instead I just give you a really shitty synopsis from Wikipedia. Anyways, it's about these people that are running from something. They end up in a hospital together. Then there's these guys outside. It's very much a cult, and they're like hooded guys with this Lovecraftian triangle situation on their face. They're trying to get in the hospital. They're trying to this group of people trying to escape the hospital, but also in the hospital is a Lovecraftian creature. They're trying to figure out where it came from, how it got there, and yeah, that's The Void. And it's dark, it's bloody and gory. Extremely good practical effects. If you haven't watched it yet, go give it a watch. In a second here, I will pull up these movies and see where they're streaming at as I go run through the top 10 one last time. Streaming as of right now, anyways. Number 2 on my top 10 horror movies of all times list. This is one that my friends will know this about me. They'll know what number 2 and number 1 are. Number 2 is Scream. I'm gonna probably have to lump Scream 1 and 2 together because I think they're a perfect movie as a pair. I think they just go together perfectly. But Scream 1 is my second favorite horror movie of all time. What's up, Omi? How you doing? Scream came out in 1996, directed by Wes Craven, starring Matthew Lillard, Skeet Ulrich. Missing the women's names: Drew Barrymore, Courtney Cox, and Neve Campbell. Good grief. And what's his face from Eight-Legged Freaks? Anyhow, David Arquette. It revitalized horror. It saved horror. It came out and it was self-aware. It broke the fourth wall. It's just a great movie, and it's got probably my favorite opening to any horror movie of all time. I couldn't believe it when I saw this movie the first time and she got killed at the beginning of the movie like that. I couldn't believe it. I was shocked. But yeah, this is one that kind of scared me when I watched it the first time. I watched it the first time not in the theaters. I watched it at my friend's house, and he was off with his girlfriend doing something, and I was in his house by myself, and we were out in the middle of Cypress, Texas, which at the time wasn't built up, but we were on some land by ourselves, and dude, it scared the crap out of me, man. It was such a great whodunit type horror movie, great slasher, good mystery, good twist. It was awesome, man. And a good cast. Just everything about it hit me at the right time. I think had I been older or younger when that movie came out, it probably wouldn't rank as high on my list, but it does. But my favorite horror movie of all time, number 1, is As If You Can't Tell. Terrifier is my favorite horror movie of all time. 2016, directed by Damien Leone, and introducing David Howard Thornton in the role of Art the Clown. It's my favorite movie. It's gory, it's gross, it's gnarly, it's bloody, it's violent, it's funny. It's a B movie, low budget schlock fest, but still done really, really well. Everything about it is just what I love about horror, and it's a throwback to some stuff like it's kind of like saying Friday the 13th. I prefer the movie Hatchet and all that stuff, but they're ripoffs of Friday the 13th very clearly, right? But I like those better. They're modern. They're more bloody. They're what I want out of horror. Well, this is exactly what I want out of horror. It's a homage to 80s horror movies, and I'd rather watch a better version of those, and that's what this is to me, in my opinion. And if anybody from that movie sees this video, man, congratulations on the sequel getting 700 theaters when it comes out this October in about 3 weeks. That's amazing, man. So Terrifier 2 comes out in October 6th of 2022, and that's about 3 weeks from now. Opening in 700 theaters nationwide. That is absolutely incredible. But Terrifier, if you haven't seen it, I don't know what to tell you about it, dude. It's about a clown that kills people, and he doesn't talk. It's wild. It's wild. It's got my favorite kill of all time in it, and it's currently streaming on Tubi. So let's go over the list one more time real quick So number 10 is Cabin Fever 2002. Number 9 is Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original. Number 8 is Return to Oz. Number 7 is Saw 1. Number 6 is The Fly. Number 5 is The Thing from 1982. Number 4 is Evil Dead from 2013. Number 3 is The Void. Number 2 is Scream. And number 1 is Terrifier. Terrifier is streaming currently on Tubi. Give me just a second and I'll see where some of these... I don't know if Scream is streaming anywhere, but we'll find out. Let's see here. There's an app called Just Watch. If you pull it up, it's a really great app. It'll tell you like whatever you're looking for, where it's streaming at. Let's see. And if it's not streaming, okay. No, that's the wrong movie. Okay, Scream is currently on Showtime. You can rent it on Amazon. Let's see. The Void. The Void is also currently on Tubi. You can also rent it on Amazon. It's on Shudder as well if you have Shudder. Let's see here. What we got? Oh yeah, Evil Dead. Like I said, my top 5 horror movies are Tombad, Dream Home, Possession, Hatching, Train to Busan, The Untold Story. Man, I've never even heard of a few of these. Dream Home and Tombad. Tombad? I don't know what that is. And The Untold Story, I have no idea what those are. Train to Busan's awesome, though. I can't believe it's in anybody's top 5, but it's awesome. But like I said, this is why they're somebody who couldn't tell that 28 years later that skeet would be another word for jizz. That word didn't used to mean that back when he was around. It didn't mean that in the 90s. So Evil Dead is available on Amazon to rent. Let's see. The Thing and The Fly may not be available either. Man, most of these are movies you have to rent off of Amazon. The Thing, rented on Amazon. The Fly. It looks like these are all available to rent on Amazon. So, but yeah, you can go check out Terrifier on Tubi right now for free. So, but that's my top 10 horror movies of all time. I'd love to know what your top 10 horror movies list looks like. If you want to put it in the comments, that'd be awesome. Otherwise, thanks for hanging out with me. I appreciate your time. Everybody have a good day. We'll see y'all real soon. All right. Peace.